Hello again. I'm going to read my poem, my longish poem, called Alone in Amphitheatres. I'm going to read it in sections and break it up here and there to talk a little bit about it. It travels around the place. It begins in Rome, but the easiest thing to do when you're listening and watching is to think of the cinema, which also has scenes that move around the place. As I said, it begins in Rome in winter, and that's the first line. In Rome, one winter, the galleries of the Colosseum were brightly daubed and fringed with snow, as if a truculent Senate had been banished to the plebeian tears and died up there of shock, slumped and silent in the folds of their togas. A barbarian sun strode through the arches like fresh breaches ripped in the city walls and watched the girdled empire melt away. A drone hovers above, an eagle in a prophecy. Thumbs up, thumbs down. We still don't know which way meant life or death. The rose hushed as the blunt digit swiveled. Not random at all. Just the emperor taking the pulse of local politics. The circus still holds sway, shrunk to a tiny screen, shinier and more potent than legions in array, that beams new jousts, frivolities, and massacres. Flies whirled in circles like a gladiator's net. There were spirals of insects, but no carcasses to gorge on the rib cage of another arena. The nearby village was a mud-walled shambles. Where was the city, planted so imperiously here? We drummed by jeep over the Tunisian desert, doubting the authenticity of wartime jerry cans, if not the last invader's route over the Salt Lake. A metropolis was here until the waste spread and marooned the area like Babel's Tower. Observed from space, it must pose riddles. Scientists with no classics might take it for a missile silo. Before the desert lay siege, this colony of revenants was a rich granary. Ruins have avid memories. This one craves fanfares and tridents, entrails on the sand. To articulate the intimacy of the acoustic, the guide lit a match in the bowl of epidaurus. The scratch ran to the top rank like a hissing fuse, or the rasp of a hastily unsheathed sword. Then she crumpled the sheet of paper. The rustle rose like a stifled whisper, or a secret let slip out, a trust betrayed, or a gentle blessing bestowed. A throng leant forward, sculpted on funerary slabs. The Sicilian hills are so refined, only the best class of nymph and shepherd may dally there. The designer flocks graze placidly. A castle with turrets and pennants cleaves to the slopes, or so could if it chose. So the site at Taormina, known to be the loveliest in the known world. Somewhere to recite Shelley to yourself aloud. The sea a chipped mosaic with basking dolphins. I'll just pause there. Where have we been? We moved all the time, keeping to the theme of amphitheatres. We moved from Rome, the most famous amphitheatre of all, the Colosseum, to one in just standing by itself in the Tunisian desert, and that's why it looks so strange and odd, and there's just mud huts beside it. Then we go to the most beautiful one. We go to Sicily, which was a Greek colony, of course, and developed by the Romans, of course, as well, to perhaps the most beautiful of all the little amphitheatres that were in the provinces. This one is at Taormina, up on a cliff overlooking the sea. Let's move on and see what happens. Now, all along, that is all amphitheatres, all along for an athlete, wunderkind, impresario, someone who sets the pace, sails past in style, while others, when others gasp and falter. Rest the tape, play the sonata, blindfold, grip the trapeze with your teeth, spin at the top without a net, cavort with violin, slash out a song, bring halls and sports fields to their feet. O lonely prodigy, go find your steadfast love. We are Lilliputians, cupped in a massive hand, paraded like Gulliver among the gargantuan, feeling chastened by our new insignificance. We could scramble to the edge and catch a lift off a low cloud, and no one would ever know we'd gone kite surfing into timelessness. The way the masks and the chorus swept off, the audience hung up on artifice like Icarus. The verb to do implies to act or to impersonate, to prompt an event, to cause a ghost to breathe, praxis and mime. The contrast in their traits are toppled masonry to trompe, pastiche, world as stage, or parterre, box and balcony. Our idols, stand-up comedians in ragbag gear, ventriloquists who caper, and inveigle us to cringe and prop up a clapped out show. Amphitheatres echo everywhere. Take a leaf, tropical bottle green, lit up like a lampshade, its patterns lifelines, but more discernible. Our own palms like fissures in fired clay. There we are, you, I, or anyone, a speck, an ant, a full stop on a page without a text. Lift up the leaf, draw breath, and blow yourself off to an incarnation far beyond the forest canopy. The strategy of foliage. Not only how it creeps, but how it clings to lintel, sill, and parapet, like fingers to rafts, or limbs to one another. Undergrowth garrots, the gullets of empires. Scales the toppling pagodas of mandarins. Tosses its camouflage over the place like a sack, until an eager explorer and his team unearth the chamber where the orators held forth. Nature would wrap us all in body bags. Revenge is what is after, sending tendrils up steps of temples, pickpockets at a festival, whose celebrants lie drugged, lost to the world. Then muscled bows, vandals who thrust into the sanctum to pry the pillars apart, the pleas of Solon, the flights of Sophocles, the piles of tagged and beribboned scrolls. Okay, we'll have a little, perhaps, thought pause for a moment to just take that in, or say, and I'll try to explicate a little of what I hope I was saying, what I think I was talking about. That the amphitheatres are places where we feel insignificant, as I say, because they are so magnificent and so timeless, and we are like a dot. We're like a dot without a text, a full stop, just a little dot. That they also long back for their past. They want the actors to come on and perform. The stones almost have memories. You hear the sound. It wants to hear clapping and shouting again. Now, in there you feel like Lilliputian from Swift, the little tiny people. And there is Gulliver. We are lost like Gulliver. But really, we have gone kite surfing, as I say, into timelessness. So you're in there, your mind is going into, because of the wonder of these old amphitheatres. And of course, the title of the poem, "The world is an amphitheatre," really looking at us in one sense. We are in it looking at everybody else. And finally, from at birth and at death, sometimes in life too, we are alone. Okay, so there's a little bit there of how we have lost the really joy of live theatre. And that's why I talk about ragbag comedians. In other words, the kind of stuff we get churned out on television. So, okay, nature. Nature destroys as well as enhances and feeds us and does so many things. But that last passage there is how they can pull great structures of humanity apart. And the great, remarkable structures of humanity can be destroyed by a simple weed which grows into a tree and pushes apart the temples and the pagodas and all other things like that. And what do they do where Solon, who was the great lawgiver, lawyer, speaker, and Sophocles, the great dramatist, poet, and into the libraries where the scrolls were tagged and, as I say, beribboned. I'll just read a little bit more, I think, and then we'll pause this session. Let the terraces sweep round you. Now we're back in the amphitheatre. Let the terraces sweep round you like a fan. Clearing a cradle for the original, to be reborn for the deft playwright, to swing around a scene so the villain is champion, the guilty reclaimed. On an escarpment of stones in a ruined cleft, once the pit of gods, of a long forsaken town, I stumbled across a child excavating a drawer. Opera glasses, programs, a withered fan. Oh, we move on. Oh, how the touts hated him. My father stepped out of a taxi and doled out free tickets, clients' gifts, the free tickets, clients' gifts, to rugby fans at international matches, but kept 2 touchline seats at the heart of the ground. The crowd bellowed, propelling with its yell the ball between the bars. We bellowed too, closer in all that rowdiness than we ever were on the pitch of silence or the scoreboard of words. Now, I just say that your life kind of replays itself almost in this empty theatre. And the child, of course, is me, who excavated a drawer like the archaeologist. Children love. My grandson used to, growing up now, but he used to love going in drawers and finding things. And I did as a kid. I'd go through them and find all sorts of old documents, foreign banknotes and coins and old cameras and junk. Okay, now, my father used to get, because of his profession, his clients wanted to be friendly with him, and they'd give him free tickets to rugby matches. And that's what that's about. We'd go to the rugby match and he'd give them away, and the people selling illegal tickets would get very cross, call them names. And I came down on my little bike, a nice sports bike actually, and my father got out of a taxi. He came in by taxi, and we met and we went to the match together. And of course there is, in my generation particularly, I think a sense of parent, father and child and male child, father and boy missing each other. This is a common feeling among, it's much better now, I think. But so we were close there, perhaps more than when we were arguing with each other. Okay, we're going to pause there. I just want to say a little bit about this book. You can see it here. It's obviously, just at a glance, you can see how beautifully produced it is. It is a joint effort. It's in fact a sort of tripart effort. I wrote the poem. My dear friend Raphael Madavi painted a picture which we use throughout the book, a marvelous large wall-size picture, relating to the theme, interpreting the theme. So the picture and poem interrelate. And finally, as I said, just holding this, you can see the quality of it without my doing too much about it. Here we are, there's the title, for example, and I just flick through the pages. You can see how wonderful it is. And that is the creation of another dear friend of Raphael Madavi, the painter, and myself, and that is by Peter Mackin, who is a Belgian designer with an Irish name, of Irish descent, who is an artist both in his design work and in his gallery exhibitions. So it is this book, Alone in Amphitheatres, beautifully produced, beautifully printed, and published with the under the aegis of the American University of Paris. So this is this sort of book which I think can justifiably for once be called a collector's item. So look, thank you so much for watching, and we're going to have another whack, so to speak. We're going to have another tranche or slice or view at around the amphitheatres. But I'm going to say thank you and goodbye for now.